Mr. Turner? It's me! Mr. Turner! I'm driving with my feet!
I'm semi, I stay automatic. Money add then multiply, I call it mathematics.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Illumination Month. So right where we left off, now we're talking about the Lorax. But now let me give you a little history. So, Despicable Me, after the critical and financial hit of Despicable Me, they wanted to do something a little bit different, which is Hop. I'm not going to review Hop, and I didn't, just let you know I didn't even like Hop, so I skipped over that, and that's not the film we're talking about today. Now we're talking about the Lorax. The first Dr. Seuss adaptation from Illumination. Now, when it comes to Dr. Seuss, I've already reviewed The Grinch or Cat in the Hat. So if you want to take a look at those films, that'd be great. And now we're talking about the Lorax, the first Illumination, the first Dr. Seuss film made by Illumination, which they also did the animated Grinch movie, which we'll get to that at some point. So, anyways, the Lorax. So the Lorax is, as everybody should know, the Lorax is based on a kid's book made by the legend himself, Dr. Seuss, which is the story about a orange creature trying to protect the trees from nature. But in the movie, it's a little different. You get a boy played by Zac Efron who wants to please this girl played by Taylor Swift, by giving her a tree for her birthday or something, and then after hearing from his grandma that there's only one place where you can only get real trees because technically their world is now filled by electronics and like electric trees and cars and stuff instead of like normal real trees like the ones in the book. So the little boy has to go on this journey to find this tree, but then he stumbles upon this big giant building which is owned by the Onceler played by Ed Helms, and tells him the story of why the trees are gone and why the world looks so bad, and tells him the story of the Lorax, which in the story of the the story of the Lorax, the Onceler meets the Lorax and tells him you can't cut off the trees, you have been warned, you cannot do this to nature, and he makes this thing called a Thanid, which everybody really enjoys. But since now that the world is gone, the Lorax disappears, and now the Onceler has nothing. And then once the story was over, the Onceler gives him a seed that gives the little boy. But then the mayor finds out about it, which is the villain, which I really forgot his name and I forgot who he's played by. But anyways, he has to run away from the mayor because the mayor doesn't want another tree in their neighborhood. Whew, gosh. Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, and you know, I mean, as a film adaptation of the book, it really doesn't work. But you know, as crazy as it sounds, I kind of get into it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, let me put it this way: I thought the movie was okay. I mean, as far as adaptations go to books, it really doesn't work. I mean, we're talking about a movie that's based on a beloved book by millions. This is something that the Cat in the Hat and sort of the Grinch movies fail to do, is that they fail to stand on their own. I mean, the live action Grinch and the animated Grinch, which we'll get to at some point, kind of worked in some way because they were able to make it stand on its own and make it different. But Lorax kind of fails in one way because, you know, the characters are not that interesting and their motivations are boring. But let's get to the positives first. The animation, it's wonderful. It's very, very beautiful. The textures are great, and the world that they live in is very, very atmospheric. You could tell Illumination's good with this kind of stuff. I like Danny DeVito as the Lorax. Kind of an odd choice, but he actually kind of fits the role. I like Betty White as the grandma, and while I'm not a big Zac Efron fan, he is very tolerable in this movie. The casting is not that bad. So, and the soundtrack, while I did like at least one song, the rest are pretty bad. And I really wish it wasn't a musical, but, you know, I mean, I don't think it needed to be. But anyways, overall, the Lorax is just okay. I mean, I guess as a film on its own, it's fine as just a normal kid distractor, but as a film based on a book, it really doesn't do well. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to give this movie 2 ratings. One for one audience and one for the other. it's kind of hard for me because, I'm a very different person. But if you love Illumination, and not know what the book is and want to treat it as its own kids movie, kids are going to be fine with it. So I give it like a 8 out of 10. However, if fans for the book, I'm going to probably recommend it's a 5 out of 10. It's just very generic and kind of stale. Not the worst or anything, but it is kind of it's kind of a weak movie. So, that was the Lorax. Thank you guys. Now, after the Lorax was released, it's now time for Despicable Me 2. This is LTM, and I'll be right back.
This makes up for all them cracks about my breastises lactating chocolate milk.
No chocolate milk? Then what the hell have I been sucking on?
Why couldn't we get banished here? Come on, we gotta find another door.
Good job. Meet me in the alley. I'm gonna grab a quick slice.